Welcome to today's story. This is a true-to-life tale about pain, rebellion, and the relentless pursuit of grace. It's the story of a young man who said no to God, but God never gave up on him. This is the boy who said no to God. Let's begin. In the heart of Accra City, in the noisy streets and crowded corners, there lived a boy named Kwame. From a young age, Kwame refused to believe in God. While others prayed, he laughed. While others went to church, he wandered the streets instead. God? He'd scoff. If he's real, where is he when people suffer? Where was he when my life fell apart? Kwame had seen too much hunger, too much pain, too much disappointment. He watched his mother cry through long, silent nights, praying to a God who never seemed to answer. So he shut his heart, not just to God, but to everything good. As he grew older, the streets became his teacher. He stopped going to school. He mocked Christians. He laughed at preachers. He joined the wrong friends, chased thrills, alcohol, parties, reckless nights. At first, it felt like freedom, but soon it became a prison. One drink turned into many. One night out became every night. He tried to drown the emptiness, but it only grew louder. Kwame was arrested, not once, but twice. He'd find jobs, then lose them within weeks. Even his family gave up. Neighbors would whisper when they saw him stumble home, "Don't end up like Kwame." He had become a warning, not a person, a lesson, not a loved one. Then came a day. Kwame sat alone on a bench near the Kaneshi market, hungry, dirty, tired, and yet still too proud to call on God. He looked up at the sky and muttered, "Is this all life is? What's the point?" But no voice answered, only trotro horns and the crowd rushing past. Then came the night that changed everything. It was raining. Kwame was drunk, wandering through the streets. Suddenly, a car came speeding down the road. He didn't see it in time. Boom, everything went black. When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed, tubes in his nose, ribs broken, body bruised. He was told it was a miracle he survived, but Kwame didn't feel like a miracle. He whispered, "Why didn't I just die?" Alone, forgotten, wasted. This was his rock bottom. For days, no one came. No visits, no messages, just the machines, just the silence. Then the door opened, and in walked an old friend. It was Kojo, a boy Kwame had known years ago. But Kojo was different now. He carried something peaceful, hopeful, holy. Kojo sat beside him and said, "Kwame, I came to tell you about Jesus." Kwame snorted. "Jesus? Where was he when I was lost? Where was he then?" But Kojo didn't argue. He just smiled and stayed. Day after day, Kojo came back. He brought food. He read scripture. He prayed, not loud, not forceful, just steady. At first, Kwame ignored him, but deep down, something was stirring. One night, with no one around, Kwame whispered, "Jesus, if you're real, help me." It was a small prayer, but heaven heard it, and the healing began. When Kwame left the hospital, Kojo was waiting. They found a rehab program. The road was not easy. There were hard days, painful memories, temptations, but Kojo would remind him, "You're not walking alone." Kwame started reading the Bible. Tears flowed, years of pain washing out. Day by day, the broken boy began to heal. He started to believe that maybe, just maybe, he was still worth saving. Neighbors started to notice. His family began to hope again. He joined a church, not out of pressure but hunger. At first, he sat in the back, quiet, but slowly, he began to sing again, smile again. And one Sunday, he walked to the front during worship, fell to his knees, and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." The people watching couldn't believe their eyes. But grace doesn't need permission. It only needs surrender. Kwame was baptized. He finished rehab. He stayed close to Kojo, his brother in the spirit. And the boy who once mocked God now shared his story in schools, shelters, even prisons. "I once said no to God," he'd say, "but he never said no to me." But one thing still remained. His mother. He hadn't seen her since the accident. Too ashamed, too afraid. But the spirit kept nudging. So one day, he knocked on her door. She opened it slowly. Older now, frailer, but still the same praying mother. Her eyes filled with tears. Kwame dropped to his knees and said, "Mama, I'm sorry for everything." She didn't say a word. She just held him and wept. For the first time in years, they cried together, not from pain, but from healing. From that day, Kwame never looked back. He found work. He served in church. He helped others rise again. And one day, he met a woman, a beautiful, godly woman. She had been broken too, but healed by grace. They became friends. Then, partners in prayer. Then husband and wife. God didn't just restore his heart, he restored his home. Today, Kwame is a father, a husband, a man of faith. He teaches his children to pray not just with words, but by example. He tells them, "Your daddy once ran from God, but God ran faster." Now, the streets that once knew him as a drunk know him as a preacher. The house that once echoed with tears now sings with laughter and worship. The boy who said no to God became the man who lives for him. Thank you for listening to this story. May it remind you that no one is too far gone, and no story is too broken for God to make beautiful again. If you've been touched by this story, like, share, and subscribe for more faith-filled stories of healing, hope, and redemption. Until next time, remember, even when we say no to God, His love still says yes.